Arirang News. The cold wave is in full swing in South Korea, with people here in Seoul today experiencing feels-like temperatures of minus 20 degrees Celsius. Flights have been canceled and hundreds of cold-related illnesses have been reported across the country. For the first time at the United Nations review of the human rights situation in China, South Korea calls on Beijing to protect defectors from overseas, including those from Pyongyang, and adopt a national refugee law. At the latest UN Security Council meeting, Russia denounces Western countries for providing weapon support to Kyiv, blaming them for the prolonged war in Ukraine. Good evening, it's 9 p.m. here in Seoul. Thank you for joining us on Arirang News. We start with a continuing cold snap here in South Korea. With a steep drop in temperature, hundreds of cold-related illnesses have been reported across the country. And in Jeju, due to heavy snow and strong winds, more than 400 flights have been canceled throughout the day. Our Yoon leads us off.
Most regions in South Korea are experiencing intense cold weather as temperatures plunged to well below zero on Tuesday. In the northwest of Gangwon-do province, early morning temperatures dropped to minus 25 degrees Celsius, while Pyeongchang-gun County, which is hosting some events for the Winter Youth Olympics, saw temperatures drop to minus 20 with a feels-like temperature of almost minus 30. Temperatures in Seoul on Tuesday morning fell to as low as minus 13 degrees Celsius, with a feels-like temperature close to minus 22. Sub-zero temperatures are expected to continue throughout the day.
It's been so cold since yesterday, and today seems to be even colder. I'm wearing my gloves and a scarf and also have 3 layers on underneath this jacket.
According to the Korea Disease Control and Prevention Agency, the accumulated number of cold-related illnesses up to January 21st is 237, with 7 presumed deaths. With persistent cold spells throughout the week, what are the most effective ways to prevent cold-related illnesses?
When going outside, wearing appropriate winter clothing such as gloves, scarves, and hats is very important. Indoor temperatures should be maintained with appropriate humidity and also at an appropriate temperature, which is between 18 to 20 degrees Celsius. Make sure to avoid extreme exercise while staying hydrated and keeping a well-balanced diet.
Heavy snowfall and strong winds across Jeju led to the cancellation of 97 flights alone on Tuesday morning at the island's international airport. This follows the 35 cancellations on Monday. Passenger ship services are in partial operation, and all trails of Hallasan Mountain are completely off limits. The capital region, as well as the Chungcheongdo provinces and Gangwon-do province, are all under a cold wave alert, while the west coast is also seeing heavy snow, requiring extra caution when driving on icy roads. The Korea Meteorological Administration anticipates Wednesday to be the coldest day, but after that, it is anticipated to slowly get warmer, and normal temperatures are expected from Friday. Yeon, Arirang News.
Moving on, President Yoon has called for an immediate review in designated Seocheon-gun County as a special disaster zone after a large fire broke out at a seafood market there on Monday evening. Yoon made an unscheduled visit there today to personally inspect recovery efforts and suggested the county should be set as a special disaster zone, making it eligible for government support. During his visit, the South Korean leader greeted with the interim leader of the ruling People Power Party, Han Dong-hun. In recent days, tensions have grown between the two longtime confidants after Han remarked on the public controversy surrounding the First Lady allegedly accepting an expensive luxury bag from a pastor. While saying the gifting was devised as a political trap, Han has also acknowledged the issue is of public concern as a faction of the PPP is calling for the first couple to apologize. Yoon's chief of staff reportedly asked Han to resign, which he openly rejected. Yoon and Han returned to Seoul on the same train, after which the PPP leader told reporters that he has deep respect and trust in the president. And President Yoon Suk-yeol on Tuesday nominated the ex-chief of the Seoul High Prosecutor's Office, Park Sung-jae, as the new justice minister. Park, a career prosecutor, has served in key roles such as leading the prosecution in finance, special investigation, and government corruption. Most recently, he left the prosecution to start a private practice. Park says he'll do everything to enforce the law fairly if appointed. The nomination comes after the post had been vacant for around a month since former minister Han Dong-hoon left to lead the ruling People Power Party for the upcoming general election in April. Over in Geneva, a United Nations review of the human rights situation in China is currently taking place. And for the first time, South Korea called on China to provide protection to North Korean defectors amid growing concerns about the repatriation of North Koreans in Beijing. Our Bae Eun-ji reports.
During the United Nations review of China's human rights situation held in Geneva on Tuesday, South Korea urged China to provide adequate protection to North Korean defectors. This is the first time that the country has directly mentioned the issue of the human rights of North Korean defectors during such a review of China.
We recommend that China provide adequate protection to its KPs of foreign origin, including the Democratic People's Republic of Korea.
South Korea's ambassador to the UN also said Seoul recommends Beijing consider adopting a national refugee law as part of its efforts to implement the 1951 Refugee Convention. Under the system called the Universal Periodic Review, or UPR, the United Nations calls for each member state to undergo a peer review of its human rights records every 4.5 years. Ahead of the review, Seoul's foreign ministry explained Tuesday that it aims to step up efforts to protect the rights of North Korean defectors.
We have been actively engaging in diplomatic efforts at bilateral and multilateral levels to ensure that the North Korean defectors residing abroad can safely and quickly travel to their desired destinations. These efforts include close coordination with relevant countries and raising the issue of North Korean defectors at the international level.
This comes after China reportedly deported hundreds of North Korean defectors against their will on October 9th last year. Civic groups in South Korea say as many as 2,600 people have been forcibly sent back to North Korea since last August. And the Human Rights Watch says the defectors, mostly women, could face imprisonment, sexual violence, or even death once they're back in the north. Bae Eun-ji, Arirang News.
At the latest UN Security Council meeting, Russia claimed the weapon support provided by the West is what's to blame for the continued warfare in Ukraine. But the international community condemns Pyongyang and Moscow for their arms deal. Our defense correspondent Choi Min-jung reports.
Russia has blamed the West for prolonging the war in Ukraine. Speaking at a UN Security Council meeting convened at the request of Russia on Monday, Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov slammed the West for providing military support to Ukraine, which he said is hindering peace negotiations.
Today, the absolute majority of unbiased experts see very clearly that the key factor which impedes ways towards a peaceful settlement of the Ukrainian crisis is continued support on the part of the West to the regime in Kyiv.
The U.S. was quick to dismiss the comments and turned the spotlight on Russia's use of weapons provided by North Korea.
As its invasion has faltered, Russia has sought more gasoline for its fire. It turned to Iran and the DPRK to procure additional weapons to use against Ukraine, its cities, and its people.
Russian forces have reportedly fired North Korean ballistic missiles against Ukraine at least 3 times since late December. According to NATO sources, fewer than 50 missiles were transferred to Russia, but experts say there could be more to come. One expert says that such supply is crucial to Moscow, as it could buy the country some time to recover from the misjudgments made at the early stages of the war.
Russia could reorganize its battle lines and armaments while delaying the war in Ukraine by using weapons provided by North Korea and Iran. Once it's ready to launch a major offensive, the situation may again be in Russia's favor.
North Korean-made weapons were deployed to Russia after the leaders of the two held a summit last September. That being said, representatives from 46 countries, including South Korea, the U.S., and Japan, and those in the EU, issued a joint statement before Monday's meeting, accusing Russia of hypocrisy. Russia has denied using North Korean weapons in the war against Ukraine. Choi Min-jang, Arirang News.
It's D-Day for voters in New Hampshire. The race for the U.S. presidential nomination is taking place there, the first primary election in the U.S. On the Republican side, there's a matchup for Trump and Haley. Our Kim Jong-sil explains.
Tuesday marks a big day for voters in America as it is the country's first primary. The two-way race is between former U.S. President Donald Trump following his overwhelming victory in the Iowa caucus last week and former UN Ambassador Nikki Haley, who's eyeing a dramatic upset. The former U.S. president showed high spirits in his final rally in New Hampshire, urging everyone to vote.
Each and every one of you is going to cast the most important vote of your entire life. This is a very, very important vote. We have to send the signal that we're not playing games. This country has gone to hell.
Trump supporters are on a roll, especially after the runner-up from Iowa, Florida Governor Ron DeSantis, dropped out of the race and endorsed the former president. His decision left former UN ambassador and former South Carolina Governor Nikki Haley as the last major candidate remaining to oppose Trump in the race. Haley said there were repercussions in having Trump running for office again.
I voted for Donald Trump twice, but rightly or wrongly, chaos follows him. And we can't be a country in disarray and have a world on fire and go through 4 more years of chaos because we won't.
During her campaign on Sunday, Haley asked if America wants to have 2 presidential candidates in their 80s, adding the presidency is the most high-pressure job in the world and making a mistake was unacceptable. The 52-year-old got a small victory from a traditional midnight vote in a tiny town, Dixville Notch, although polls show Trump leading by double digits in the state. Polls close at around 8 p.m. Eastern Time. Meanwhile, Trump's defamation trial in New York will continue on Wednesday, a day after the primary. This is the second defamation case brought against him by author E. Jean Carroll, who won her first case against Trump on the same charge last year after he continued to call her sexual abuse allegations against him pure fiction and a hoax. Kim Jong-sil, Arirang News.
Now over in Gaza, dozens of people have been killed in intense Israeli strikes on Khan Younis. The latest offensive comes as a group of 5 Arab countries are looking to strike a peace deal between Israel and Hamas. Lee Seung-jae has more.
Despite Israel stating that it had shifted to low-intensity offensives in Gaza, its military on Monday conducted intense airstrikes in Khan Younis in southern Gaza, which left dozens dead. There was also fighting on the ground between Israeli soldiers and Hamas fighters, with residents saying that tanks had surrounded a hospital and university where thousands of displaced people were sheltering. Khan Younis has recently been the focus of the Israeli military, an area it says is where Hamas commanders are holed up. On Sunday, Israel also reported that it had found an underground compound in the city where it believed about 20 Israeli hostages had been held. Amid the ongoing conflict, a mediation plan by a group of Arab countries to end the war between Israel and Hamas is taking shape. According to the Wall Street Journal on Monday, 5 Arab nations, including Saudi Arabia, will soon reveal the framework to Israel. An official involved with the mediation process said this latest plan is different from the previous plan, which saw prisoners and hostages exchanged. He added that the final goal is a 2-state solution involving the establishment of a Palestinian state. The White House said Monday that President Joe Biden still believes in the feasibility of a 2-state solution despite opposition from Israel. According to White House National Security Council spokesman John Kirby, Biden believes there is a way to get Israel to agree to the plan and is optimistic about it. However, he stressed that such a plan requires compromise. The European Union's foreign policy chief, Josep Borrell, on Monday also echoed the need for a 2-state solution, saying Israel's plan to destroy Hamas in Gaza is not working. Ahead of talks with Israeli and Palestinian top diplomats, Borrell said Israel cannot build peace only by military means, echoing Washington's criticism of Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's rejection of a 2-state solution. Lee Seung-jae, Arirang News.
Also in the Middle East, The U.S. and the U.K. have conducted a second joint operation to target Houthi militant facilities in Yemen in their latest attempt to stop Houthi attacks in the Red Sea. The Yemeni militant group says their attacks are in solidarity with Palestinians as Israel strikes Gaza. Yoon reports.
On Monday, U.S. and U.K. forces carried out another round of strikes in Yemen in an effort to halt the Houthi attacks that threaten global trade and the lives of innocent mariners. Marking the second time the two allies have conducted coordinated retaliatory strikes, they bombed 8 locations used by the Iran-backed Houthis, with support from Australia, Bahrain, Canada, and the Netherlands. According to a joint statement signed by the 6 countries, the coalition forces carried out attacks on an underground storage site and locations associated with the militant group's missile and air surveillance capabilities. Claiming to stand in solidarity with Palestine in the Gaza conflict, the Houthi rebels carried out more than 30 attacks on international shipping since mid-November, while the U.S. began striking the Houthis earlier this month in response to their attacks on commercial vessels in the Red Sea. Washington's strategy on Yemen is a blend of limited military strikes and sanctions that appear to be aimed at preventing a wider conflict in the region, while also seeking to punish the Houthis for their attacks on Red Sea shipping.
We also designated the Houthis as a specially designated global terrorist. That allows us some additional economic levers that we didn't have available to us before. And we'll keep reviewing our options going forward. Again, I'll say it, the Houthis need to stop these attacks. They can make that choice.
Meanwhile, the U.S. military denied claims by the Houthis that they had attacked the American military cargo ship, the Ocean Jazz, in the Gulf of Aden. The U.S. Naval Forces Central Command said it had maintained constant communications with the vessel throughout its safe transit. The Houthis said that retaliation against any new aggression is inevitable and will not go unpunished. Yeon, Arirang News.
Shifting gears, the U.S. stock market gained further on Monday with the Dow Jones ending trade above the 38,000 mark for the first time, fueled by investor optimism about the economy. Choi Soo-young explains.
U.S. stocks climbed on Monday local time to set new records. The Dow Jones Industrial Average advanced above 138 points to finish at 38,001.81, closing above the 38,000 level for the first time. The S&P 500 reached an all-time high, closing at above 4,850. The Nasdaq Composite climbed 49.32 points to above 15,360. Last Friday, the S&P 500 index broke its previous record set 2 years ago. Technology stocks are rising despite the adjustment in expectations regarding possible interest rate cuts by the Federal Reserve. In the S&P 500, stocks in industries such as real estate, finance, and healthcare were all up. However, stock market experts have expressed concerns that stock valuations are too high and that companies' actual performances may not support these levels.
Unfortunately, what comes with that is excessive valuations, as the S&P 500 is now trading at a PE above 23. Now, that doesn't mean that the market can't or won't move higher. It just means that attractively valued stocks are going to be a little bit more difficult to find.
According to data from the Conference Board global think tank, the U.S. leading economic index in December showed a decline for the 21st consecutive month, indicating economic recession in the U.S. IBM, Netflix, and Tesla are about to release their business result this week, while earnings are expected to decrease along with a slowdown in growth. Choi Soo-young, Arirang News.
On the local front, South Korea announced a plan to push for further growth in the cartoon and webtoon industry. The Culture Ministry said it'll strengthen support by creating a Netflix-style cartoon platform, as the market value and exports of the cartoon and webtoon industry have been growing rapidly over the past few years. It aims to expand the market value of the industry to around $3 billion and seeks to reach $250 million in exports by 2027. Plans are also in store to host a representative cartoon festival and a global awards ceremony in October and support companies trying to expand overseas with consulting and translation. Everland, South Korea's largest theme park in Yongin, announced Tuesday that Fubao, the giant panda, will be returning to China in early April. The theme park revealed through its website and social media channels that Fubao will be managed in a separate space for 1 month before her return to the research base of giant panda breeding in Sichuan province, China, adhering to international regulations concerning wildlife. This makes the panda available for public viewing until early March. Fubao was born on July 20th, 2020, amid efforts to foster friendly relations between South Korea and China by Chinese leader Xi Jinping and has been a symbol of panda diplomacy between the two countries.
It feels like we're in a freezer at the moment. With ice and winds blowing, the wind chill was as low as minus 21.7 degrees Celsius this morning. This Arctic cold wave will continue tomorrow. The wind chill in Seoul tomorrow morning will be around minus 18 degrees Celsius. Please bundle up on your way out. With a heavy snow warning, it has already snowed a lot on Jeju Island and areas on the west coast. Heavy snow will continue until dawn tomorrow in these areas. More than 50 centimeters will fall in the mountainous areas of Jeju Island and more than 20 on the west coast of the Jeollado provinces. The west coast areas of Chungcheongnam-do province will also receive up to 10 centimeters. Below freezing temperatures will continue tomorrow morning. Seoul at minus 12, Daejeon minus 11 degrees. As for the daily highs, temperatures will be a little bit higher than today's. Chuncheon and Daejeon minus 2 degrees Celsius. Gangwon-do province is freezing even in the daytime. Athletes and spectators in Gangwon-do for the Winter Youth Olympics should take care of their health in sub-zero cold weather. The freezing cold snap will gradually ease from Friday afternoon. That's all for Korea. Here are the weather conditions around the world.
Well, that is all for this newscast. Thank you for watching. We'll be back at 10 p.m. with the AI headline news. Good night.